Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Canadian Passive Investing Show. I'm your host, 𝗖𝗽𝗶 Benesocky, and I'm joined by my co-host, 𝗖𝗪𝗶 Biniaz. We have another great show for you today. So please like and subscribe as it helps us build our channel and allows us to keep bringing you great content and expert guest speakers. Our mission is to empower investors to earn passive income through real estate investing. Guys, today we're really excited. We're joined by Sarah Larbi. A little bit about Sarah. Sarah is the co-founder of the Wright Club and is known as the millennial real estate investor, speaker, mentor. Through her various coaching programs, Sarah has helped students go from their first property to planning retirement in around 10 to 15 years. Her results-oriented approach has been featured in the Globe and Mail, Toronto Star, Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine, and 1010 News Talk Radio. And she is often a guest on numerous North American finance-focused podcasts. Sarah hosts two podcasts herself, Where Should I Invest?, which I had the pleasure of speaking on, and she is also the co-host on the Wright Club, which have both reached a top 50 all-time ranking in investing in Apple Podcasts. Sarah interviews fellow real estate investors about their strategies and geographical focus, providing audiences with valuable insights and actionable tactics for their own real estate goals. Now, August and I believe this interview will bring with Sarah will bring value to busy professionals looking for a secondary source of income and to possibly leave their 9-to-5 grind by making smart and strategic real estate investments. So thank you for being here, Sarah, and welcome.
Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. We're excited to dive right into things. Maybe if you could please start off by telling us about your background and what interested you to start in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you've definitely said a lot of great things about my background. So thank you for that wonderful intro. Started investing in real estate back in 2013. Originally started doing some buy and holds because that seemed like the simplest thing, and then transitioned to the BRRRR strategy, which essentially helped me retire by doing some renos instead of just holding onto the property after buying it. BRRRR, as you know, stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. Once I left my 9-to-5 job, which I had, essentially been working up until October 1st of 2020, I decided to get into some development stuff. And so I bought a piece of land to build some townhouses on. There's 2 6-unit mixed-use buildings I'm building and developing, and the newest, coolest project, which is a resort that we are developing into 15+ cottages. And so that's been super fun. Just to keep me occupied while I don't have to, work 80 hours a week anymore. So that's essentially what I did in, I guess, 7.5 years or so. And as you said, along the way, I've been, focusing on the podcast and, trying to educate others to be able to do the same or maybe even better, and give them that inspiration that they don't have to just do what they're doing right now. There is better if they want better.
Of course, no, great points. And for me to touch on a point there. So this idea of leaving somebody's working career and starting a new career seems to be an anxiety-filled step. Same thing happened to us. Even though we were real estate professionals, we changed our careers. 𝗖𝗪 from being a real estate agent, myself from being a builder, developer, contractor, into being syndicators or real estate private equity fund managers. And that was kind of a scary transition that we went through. Talk to us about the anxiety that existed, or was it a seamless, fun process? Talk to us about that. Maybe also with your, others in your network or students that you coach and what have you. How has that transition been? If you can share a couple stories about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I can share my story to start. I actually, so I've been in sales. I have a background as a nurse, and decided that it just wasn't for me. I didn't really want to do the night shift, and I didn't want to make the same amount of money as everybody else if I was going to do more and work harder. And I just knew, not that there's anything against nursing, but you're really capped at how many years you've essentially been there. So I went into sales. My first year made absolutely no money, but fast forward, I think it was 10 years in sales. I went from very toxic environments where it was super stressful, working some crazy hours, even, had some horrible bosses. But my last job was actually amazing. And I was there for 5 years, and actually it was really hard to leave. I had probably, in my opinion, the best boss, who was a true leader, supported my real estate investing. Actually, he's got 9 of his own properties today, and just trusted that I got work done when I needed to, and, encouraged me to keep going and build my real estate portfolio on the side. And so he knew it was not going to be forever like this. Working in sales was not the be all and end all for me. And so, because they were always supportive, I just made sure to leave on very good terms. And it was literally, I was at the cottage. It was probably May or June of 2020, realized, how nice my life is by just sitting on the dock, having some wine, enjoying life, and realizing, like, why am I not doing this right now? Looked at my finances, and I could do it. I could do it now, but I was so busy and focused, even though my last job was amazing, I was so busy and focused that I don't think I realized that I was, I had met certain goals in order to be able to leave and live a different lifestyle and have a little bit more freedom. And so that was a conversation I had with him back in May or June. And so at that point in time, talked to my mortgage broker to refinance what we needed to refinance, because, as you know, the best lenders, I should say the cheapest lenders that are the most flexible, love you when you have a T4 job income, but not so much if you don't fit their box. So had a good conversation with my mortgage broker, who helped me refinance what I needed to refinance, so I can, just set myself up to be able to keep going if I wanted to, but, I didn't have to necessarily. So I did that, unlocked some credit, and just made sure that I had buffered my accounts, as an example. And I gave them a ton of heads up. So I ended up, letting the business know. I mean, I think my boss knew in May or June, and then the business, we told them in August when my refi, I'm just like, let's just wait for the refi just in case, they don't take it so well, which was cool. And then October 1st was officially my last day. So my rep, because I was a manager, one of my reps took over my position, got trained, and I left on really good terms, which was nice. But I planned it, and it wasn't a very rushed decision. Like, it was, I probably could have done it a year earlier. Just some circumstances at my actual job with certain people that I just stayed there to help support. And so for me, it was a positive thing. And, I think when I left, I didn't, for the first couple of weeks, I think I was so busy with all the stuff that I had to push back, all the meetings I still was, from a real estate standpoint doing. And then I ended up having an amazing summer. And, last summer, obviously I left in October, but when the weather started to be nice, I'm like, I'm not going to do anything this summer. I'm going to do no work meetings from May to Labor Day. And I'm going to do that every single summer from now on. But to me, it was a positive experience. Yes, you're always worried in the back of your mind, but you can only plan so much. And then at some point you just got to trust that you've got to where you are today and move forward.
I love to hear that. Like, you've created a life of your own terms, and you stopped trading time for money, which created time freedom for you to do the things that you love doing, which was sitting on, waking up, sitting on being in the beauty of where you were, and having a glass of wine and relaxing and really enjoying life by making smart real estate investments. So there's a lot of power that exists behind, and now she's helping others achieve the same thing. So that's really powerful, Sarah. Thank you for sharing your story with us with that. Could you please tell us about the Wright Club and how, we would love to know, how did the idea come about?
Yeah, I mean, the Wright Club, I think we started it 4.5 years ago. It's been now. It was, there's 4 of us, and there were no live meetings in the Burlington area back in the day that were providing education for real estate investors that, was not costing $20,000. And it was a place for people to network and build their teams. And so we knew there was a need in the area, and we just, I think part of it was we were somewhat connected, that we were able to bring the people that we knew into the meeting. So our first meeting, I think there's 100 people already in the first meeting. Oh, wow. From having gone to prior real estate events that we were networking at and whatnot. So. But we started it, and we had great content, we had great value, and it's just kind of been growing ever since. but it's a real estate investing training and education club. At this point, there's no cost. We do a lot of stuff online. If you go to the 𝗖𝗽𝗶𝗁, there's a ton of content, things that you can learn. With the pandemic, obviously we moved our meetings virtually, but now we're starting to bring them back in person. But throughout the pandemic, we were actually able to go coast to coast and, reach others that, may not be close to Burlington, may not be, able to meet in person, to still give them the opportunity to educate themselves wherever they are.
Incredible. I love that. Now you've been around investors and you are yourself as an investor. What are the common pain points that you notice investors have in wanting to start their real estate investing or possibly start scaling their real estate portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably four things, I think. If I had to, pick a handful, I think it's lack of money, lack of financing, lack of deals, and mindset. And you've got to work on all of those. And I'll tell you, there's results and there's answers to all of those things. And you just have to get the right people on your team, and you've got to, put the right things in your mind. And all of those should allow you to take action. And if you have all of those and you don't take action, I mean, that's a big problem. But I think those are the four things that prevent people from, really being successful. So there's solutions.
Great. Yeah, no, definitely a great point. And I mean, I've had experience, allowing others' viewpoints to kind of drive my mind and my mindset, where, especially when you're talking about raising private equity or raising capital for a real estate deal. A lot of times when most people look at a real estate deal, as soon as they can't afford it, now they right away, cross out the deal and they move on. But there are other ways to raise private capital, to do deals, joint ventures, private equity, different types of ways to raise capital to do a deal. So very interesting that you had the mindset as your part of the top pain points that exist, and that's very true.
Yeah, really definitely. I think it all starts with mindset. So very good point. And I wanted to discuss raising capital. It's a process which here at CPI we got familiar with in the last 2 years, raising capital for the deals that we bring to the table for our investors. What has been your experience, Sarah, in raising capital? If you have any advice or stories you can share with us.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is if you do the right things along the way before you need it, I think the money and the opportunities will come to you. So here's what I mean, right? And so it could be anybody, myself included, but start posting some cool deals that you're doing. Start posting even some walkthroughs of properties that you're looking at. I think the more people see somebody, they learn to trust them. They're like, oh, this person, knows what they're talking about. I want to know more and I want to do more. And I think with that, then you get people reaching out to you before you even need to have that conversation. I have many people emailing me saying, hey, do you have a deal? Let's JV. Not that I necessarily want to do that for everything. For me, it was important to build actually my own portfolio, and I used the BRRRR strategy to actually use the bank's money on the refis to keep scaling. Now with the development projects, obviously they require many more dollars, millions of dollars. So it's a little bit of a different realm. However, it doesn't happen overnight, right? I mean, yeah, you can get some money from your friends and your family, but if you're looking at raising capital, start today. If you're thinking that it's going to be something you're going to want to do in a year from now, 2 years from now, start building the trust, start building a brand, get people to realize that, you're somebody that they want to work with. And I think it's just a lot easier to do that than trying to say, oh crap, I have to start from scratch now. I need money tomorrow. The desperation is never good.
Yeah, definitely. And when you post that content and you're out there all the time, people feel like they know you and they can trust you already because you're a thought leader, and they're like, I want to come to you for advice and for your help on things. So really good point.
Yeah. And a lot of common advice is, hey, find a deal and the money will come. I believe that's a fallacy. That's not true. I think it's important to cultivate your relationship, if it's with friends, family, business associates, or others in your network. And then obviously, if you're looking to raise more capital, depending on how large your friends and family and network is. But if you're looking to raise private capital, it's important to have a system in place, have a CRM, So as you're creating content, if it's digital content, or if you're having in-person event, as people connect with you, it's hard to keep in touch, and having a right CRM in place, and then nurturing those contacts as well, sending them a lot of great free content. So then you're always in their mailbox, you're always in their mind, obviously not overdoing it.
And then you bring a good deal to the table and boom, they're like, this is exciting.
But there's definitely an art about it. I think Eva has plans, because she's done so tremendously well here, being the head of our investor relations team, is plans to write a book. So I want to be a co-author in that book.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, great points you were saying, Sarah.
And Sarah, you were talking about these development projects that you're working on and so forth. Can you talk to us about, the regions that you invest in and why you kind of decided to go in these regions with the projects you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's twofold. Number one, I have a cottage there, and I'm planning on actually moving to the _�𝗏𝗃 permanently in the next couple years. And I think I just started looking there, and I started making some calls. And the first piece of land was off market, but it was there was a sometimes I like to just call, like if I'm looking for land or I'm looking for different things, that's this what I decided I wanted to start doing as the next chapter of my life. And a realtor there that was listing a different property that was already sold, she's like, hey, you know what, I might have something else, because we started having a conversation, somebody that she knew that were thinking about selling, and we ended up getting a piece of land for half the price that it was worth, just right on the purchase price, which is amazing. And then the other part of it is, like, as I get into a brand new strategy that has a lot more risk, you can lose a lot more money faster. I don't want to do all the mistakes from scratch like I did maybe back in the day with buying my first rental property. I would rather have somebody on my team that has done it for 35, 40 years. And so I actually brought in a partner that has that experience and that has that connection with the town. The city has done many good projects in the area. And so brought them into the project. One of them is a Terrion builder that's part of the team. And the other one, well, he's my mentor anyways, ended up hiring him. I'm like, I want to get into this development stuff. I know you've been doing it. And it just happened that, like, they're in that area already. It worked really well. And so, there's another piece of property that we're working on together, also in the _�𝗏𝗃. Now I'm up there anyways. So we started looking for, like, hey, it would be really cool to do like some little tiny home cottages or like a little resort. And I didn't think it would happen, but it's just activity driven. And you do enough calls, you look enough, you'll find something. And we found a piece of property that was 5 acres with the right zoning, and, negotiated a vendor take back for 2 years. And here we go. We're going into this project. I didn't think this was going to necessarily happen that quickly, but it's going to be fun. This is going to be a really cool project. We want to do some like real estate investing retreats there. I love the short-term, rental market, especially in Ontario, with the landlord rules and stuff like that. So, and then the next acre, next door, there's an acre for sale, and we bought that too. And we're going to be building like a 20 to 25 person large cottage that's going to be, like a even higher upscale version of the resort, because we want to make that upscale too. So it's going to be a cool project. I don't know exactly how it's going to twist and turn. I think that's the fun part of it. I'm sure we'll have like some other really cool ideas to do it. But, that's how it started. And sometimes when you're, looking in a certain area, things will happen. I don't know if I didn't have a cottage and I wasn't already physically there, if I wouldn't necessarily chose that area. But once I started really doing some digging and looking around, I think it's actually, in my opinion, there's still a ton of value to be had there. And they are putting a lot of development or money rather into bringing tourists into the area. There's some transportation improvements with the highway that just now is connecting to the other highway that brings us up there. So there's lots of like really awesome fundamentals, like market fundamentals that I like. So I'm probably going to stick it out there for a bit. I started in Brantford, then Hamilton, then Burlington. So like the west side of the GTA, but there's tons of opportunity, and I'm happy with sticking it out in the _�𝗏𝗃s for, a few more deals.
That's really exciting stuff that you have planned. Now, are you guys funding the project between you and your partner? Or are you raising private equity?
So, for this resort, we're going to use private equity. Well, it's one of the things, we all bring something to the table. And one of the partners has access to, millions at a very, very low interest rate of people that he's been working with for 30 plus years. And they're not really investors and they just want their money to be working. So we're getting an amazing rate on, the build, including everything that we need. So that's awesome. So we're not going out and raising new money per se. We're just going to use the cash that we have. There's some other projects I'll probably bring in a couple investors, just because I think part of my new branding is going to be, developing really cool investments for investors. Like I really want to create something unique for us, for my investors, with cash flow, with, not just the regular public condo or whatnot that's going to work for the public, but what's going to work for an investor. What's the ROI? Is it going to cash flow? Can we get some good tenants in there? And I don't need to do big projects, but like unique things like that to make sure that we have enough deals to share between investors. I think is cool. So that's kind of my strategy.
I love it.
You say cash flow and we love cash flow. We preach it all the time.
Cash flow is king, right? Why don't we talk about the importance of cash flow and kind of get your opinion on it? We realize obviously cash flow is a little bit difficult to come around in the Canadian market and on Canadian deals, but how do you create the cash flow in your investments, just as you were kind of laying it out there for us? And how important is cash flow to investors who are part of your network that you coach and speak to?
Here, let me put it this way. If it wasn't for cash flow, I would still be working 9 to 5.
Right. Yeah.
The cash flow from the rentals, from the short-term rentals, the long-term rentals, the midterm rentals, because I like all of those, that really gives you the cushion month to month to be able to say, do you really need to work 9 to 5? So you definitely need the cash flow to have that ability. Are you going to become wealthy over the cash flow? No, you need the equity, you need the, some of that stuff to create the wealth and the net worth. But cash flow gives you the next level. So to give you an example, like for the townhouses, so like the piece of land that we bought in Lakefield, we're building 6 townhouses. I ended up buying one myself at the same price because I think that's fair. And so they're all going to be 2 units. And so the 2 units will actually cash flow because we're not just building a one, single unit townhouse. We're going to be able to put 2 sets of tenants in there. And that in turn, based on the purchase price and the rates and all that good stuff and the calculations, will produce cash flow for the investors.
Love it.
Got it. And is one of the units a side suite kind of idea, or they're 2 kind of identical units within one townhouse?
One is the main floor only, and then the other one is going to be the next 2 levels up.
Nice.
Right
and separate entrances and separate addresses and everything?
Yeah.
Nice.
Right
Great.
on. You mentioned you had a mentor. I wanted to quickly ask you, like, let's talk about mentors. And do you recommend mentors to others? And tell us about your experience having a mentor, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. So let me start by saying, when I got into real estate to begin with, I listened to podcasts and I just went for it. And that's how I started. And a lot of the podcasts I was listening to were like US podcasts with, as we know, and when it comes to taxes and financing and, many things, it's quite different. And so, it would have been nice to have, somebody that was already walking in my footsteps back then. And I just didn't know anybody, and I didn't even know that there were like networking groups and those types of things. And I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes with every single aspect of my business, and I learned and I developed processes and systems, but it definitely took a lot longer than I could have. And I think if I had a mentor, I probably could have scaled even faster, probably left my job even earlier, because I would have been able to learn and connect to their network and their expert team. And, instead of trying to figure it out, a lot by myself in the beginning. So absolutely, I think it's important, just make sure that your mentor is where you want to be, doing this strategy that you want, or, at least has the ability to coach you to get you to your goals. And then for developments, it kind of just started where I had this person on my podcast and I'm like, you're good. Like, I'm excited about what you're saying. Come to the Wright Club, come speak to the Wright Club. And then I just like randomly, like, I don't know if I called him or emailed him out of the blue. And I'm like, hey, like, I don't know if you do any of the like coaching or anything, but like, I want to hire you so that I can like learn. And this is what I want to do. So he said, okay, like I don't think he had like a plan of like, here's how we can do this, but he agreed. Maybe I was like, you know, yeah, I'm like, I want to learn from you. Like, you're super successful, and, you know, teach me what I need to know. And so, and that's really how it started. And, you know, at one point he told me, and I was really comfortable. This was last summer, and I was doing not a whole lot. And he's like, you're not doing a whole lot. Like, you're way too comfortable. And I think like there's just something that in my head that clicked. And then I'm just like, okay, I got to start like, you know, doing a little bit of like phone calls. And then, so that's how all those 3 deals came about. Just, you know, putting a little bit of fire under my butt to get things done. But I think from a development standpoint, I mean, there's so many things more to learn that the BRRRR doesn't have, and, you know, buy and hold doesn't have, or flipping doesn't, like in a lot of other strategies. And I would rather hire somebody that has done it time and time again and has really good connections with the towns that I'm working in, to help facilitate things along the way. And yeah, absolutely, I would recommend it. Just make sure that you click well with that person. And, you know, because there's lots of mentors and coaches out there that are telling you about stuff and they haven't done a deal for 20 years.
Good advice.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, they've gone down that journey, and they've paved the road for you know, others. So it's incredible. And a great point. I mean, this idea of just sitting around not doing anything, complacency is a killer for entrepreneurs, right? It's just not doing, just, you know, being happy with the status quo, and just not taking the leap, and not you know,
going for it. Just go for it.
Not starting a real estate private equity firm. Just, you know, waking up one day.
But I do think there's a balance between like just like having a sweet, awesome life though, and then like doing a few cool deals. So figure out what that balance was, because at some point I went from working and being burnt out, that I'm like, oh sweet, I'm just gonna like chill out. And like, so like I was in a good spot. But, you know, at some point you might be, you know, you might lose out on some opportunities and time and cool opportunities and deals. So I think it's just that balance. And just like, I mean, it's one of those things, like, I don't think, you know, it'll always be perfect, right? And so at some point you got to rebalance, and at some point you got to rebalance, do a couple deals, take some time, and whatever that balance looks like.
Actually, Sarah, I remember coming on your podcast, and you're like, you know what, I'm taking a couple months off. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like a good idea, just to rejuvenate, because I haven't done it.
It was great.
That's really great. And then I love that in the last year, because you picked up the phone, and because you just, you know, you weren't looking for like these big opportunities or anything, things kind of just fell in your lap, because you really put it out there in the universe. That's really cool. You know, put a little effort in, and things start happening for you. So that's really great. Now I want to talk to you about your coaching program. Like, how does somebody come to you? You start coaching them and kind of help them realize what their future is going to look like, and help put systems into place so that they can start achieving success through real estate investing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you what I'm doing right now, but my class is full. By the time this airs, it'll be already started. But I don't want to be creating another whole full-time job as well from coaching. Like, I want to give back to the point that, like, I know that other people can do it. It's, you know, it's not rocket science, but like, let's put the pieces together. So I don't want to be one of those people that's like focused on just coaching. Like, I want to do some of my deals, and then like once in a while I'll bring, you know, a few students on. So I'm going to do like one course this year. And I try to just do one every year. So this one's going to be 6 months. There's 15 students, and we're going to have a field day a month. We're going to have 2 calls a month. I'm going to make sure that they get set up with like all the money, access to money that they're going to need, financing, deals, remove all the roadblocks. And we're going to kind of start from, you know, buy and hold BRRRRs, then we get into multifamilies, and we're going to get into like looking at some developments, some land stuff, and like everything in between over the next 6 months. So I like that kind of stuff. I think that's fun, and people get deals done and move things forward. And so, you know, and yeah, I have a couple courses and whatnot. I mean, I'm happy to help out, but I don't also want coaching to become like a 40-hour work week thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, it's great that you're putting everybody together and doing it as one course for 15 people, because you can help 15 people at once. I can consider like helping thousands of people at once, and you're kind of doing that through the Wright Club and putting all this content out there. You're really like being a coach to everybody without even getting on a one-on-one call.
She's a thought leader in the space, definitely. We've noticed her, and you know, we love to stay connected and grow together. It's really amazing, truly incredible.
Yeah, 100%. Now, before moving on to our next segment of our show, Sarah, could you just tell us what would be your best advice to somebody that's looking to start passively investing in real estate?
Passively investing. That's the key piece, right? I think you just have to build a solid team of people. Figure out figure out your strategy, and then figure out who's going to be able to do as much as possible. Like I'm a master delegator. Like I don't even go grocery shopping or make my own food. I have a chef that does that for me. Like what can you delegate? And what can you get your best ROI on, and what can you work on that's going to only, something that you can do, and who else can you get on your team to get things done for you? And then just go and execute. But you really have to build the team that can do it for you. And that part might take time. And your team might need to be replaced at some point. But, if you can get that piece going, you can make a lot of things happen. And, it can, I don't think this, unless you're really just investing your money, if you're buying actual deals, there's going to be some level of activity that you're going to need to do. It can't be fully passive. Even if you hire a property manager, you're probably going to be checking in with a property manager once in a while. But yeah.
Right on. I love that. The master of the art of delegation, right?
Yes,
kind
yes.
of giving these like $10, $20 an hour jobs away so that you can work on the $5,000 an hour jobs, right?
For sure. For sure.
Okay, here we go. The 10
Great. Awesome.
10 championship rounds to financial freedom. We're going to start the next segment of our show. So whatever comes top of mind, and we'll get started here. Sir, who was the most influential person in your life?
You know what? Probably my old work boss.
Nice.
Yeah, he was a great leader, and he, before him, I was I had toxic bosses, and if you're not happy where you are at work, it's unfortunate. And so he gave me, I think, the ability to not be stressed about a Monday morning on Sunday, and just, start realizing like the potential that I had, and was super supportive in my real estate. I think when I first started working there, I only had 3 properties, but he was just always, letting me know that like I have so much potential, and totally understood when I had to leave. And he's like, yeah, you're like, your potential is much bigger. Like you should go, so.
Probably a level 5 leader.
Level 5 leader for sure. What is the number one book you'd recommend?
I think, let's see, what I like, well, I'll probably recommend a different book each time, but Believe It by 𝗖𝗣𝗜 She's the one that sold her It Cosmetic business to, I think it was L'Oreal, for like $1 billion, and has a super inspirational story. Always kept getting, told no and no and no, and just fighting through it, and came out on the other side. It's not a real estate investing book, but it's super inspirational.
I love it. If you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
I mean, I started investing at 27. I think, I didn't really know much prior to that, but hopefully just take a class on finances. Maybe it was in university, I could have done something maybe like from a business standpoint, or planted that seed back then, and but I think like other than that, I mean, I still started fairly early, but I had no clue when I was, in my early 20s.
Awesome. Now, what is the best investment you've ever made?
I think the $500 I spent for the guy to teach me how to put together a podcast. And I'm just like, I spent $500, might as well do it. But I'll tell you, you start a podcast, and I started, and I didn't even really have a plan or a goal, but it was the best thing I've ever done.
It flourished into something incredible. That's awesome. Now, what's the worst investment that you've ever made?
Worst investment. I probably bought some weed stocks and they tanked. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Wrong timing on that. The timing must have been off. Early on, there were good stocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, this is a good question. How much would you need in the bank to retire today? What's your number?
To retire today? Yeah. So, here's the thing is like, you just got to look at your income, right? I don't think it's a number. I actually don't think it's a number in the bank. I think it's, what income does everything you have generate? And that can, be millions, or it could be a few 100,000 in the bank. It doesn't matter if you've got assets that are producing your income.
Yeah, I love that.
How you can live, right?
Love
well
that.
Said.
Well said. If you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
That's a good question. Probably Don Campbell.
Okay. Right on. Perfect.
He's alive, but he's built a great portfolio. He's well trusted. Started a huge investing club, and is living life. So
Is
he's
he from the West Coast here? He's from the
yeah,
West. He's from Vancouver
Okay,
here, right?
cool.
yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Now, if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing now?
If I wasn't a real estate investor,
Yeah.
I'd probably still be doing sales. I'd be working as a sales manager, likely for the same company I left. I would have stayed there. I would have stayed there forever if it wasn't for real estate investing.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Now, this is my favorite question. Book smarts or street smarts?
Street smarts.
Okay. Last question, Sarah. If you had $1 million cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
I mean, I would just keep going with development. I think that's it's harder to be competing with the same deals. You got to just create your own deals now. So, what can you buy and what cool new projects can you do? So I'm looking at a school right now. We'll see what happens.
Oh, wow, look at that. I love it. That's a wrap, Sarah. Thank you for sharing all of the information that you shared with us today.
Just here, last one here, Ava.
Yeah, what's the best way people can reach you?
They can go to my website, sarahlarbi.com, or Instagram, investor Sarah Larbi.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah,
Ava had a lot of questions. I didn't get a chance to jump in much, but
I couldn't wait for you to come on today. I'm like,
thank you. Well, thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure, and great questions, and you guys are giving back to the community, and so thank you as well, because I know it's tough to be doing these continuously, and but I think it's the right thing to do to bring in more people to think outside the box and to be able to change their lives. So thank you.
thank you. It means a lot coming from you. Thank you so much.
yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Awesome.